Aletheia is a key philosophical concept in ancient Greek philosophy that is often translated as truth, but its deeper meaning is much more nuanced than the common understanding of truth as factual correctness. In philosophy, aletheia refers to unconcealment, or disclosure, the revealing or unveiling of something that was hidden or concealed. This concept of truth, as unconcealedness or revelation, is most famously explored in the works of the pre-Socratics, Plato, and Martin Heidegger, the 20th-century German philosopher. Aletheia in ancient Greek philosophy, pre-Socratic philosophy, Heraclitus. The concept of aletheia can be traced back to the pre-Socratic philosophers, particularly Heraclitus. He believed that the truth of reality is not immediately apparent and that it is always in a state of flux. Heraclitus famously stated that nature loves to hide, Greek, physis krupta phile, which implies that reality is often concealed and not readily visible in its entirety. In this view, aletheia is a kind of revealing or uncovering of the true nature of the world, but it requires effort and contemplation to perceive. The idea here is that truth, aletheia, is not something that can be directly observed on the surface of things, rather, it must be uncovered through reflection, thought, and engagement with the world. Plato adopted the concept of aletheia, but in his philosophy, it was often tied to his theory of the forms, ideal, eternal, and unchanging realities that exist beyond the material world. For Plato, the material world is a shadow or imperfect copy of the true reality, which can only be apprehended through reason and philosophical contemplation. In Plato's famous allegory of the cave, from the Republic, he depicted prisoners chained in a cave, watching shadows on the wall. These shadows represent the world of appearances, and aletheia, in this context, represents the liberation from ignorance and the ascent to knowledge of the true, unchanging forms. In this allegory, the truth, aletheia, is something hidden behind the illusion of sensory experience, and it can only be revealed when one escapes from the cave of ignorance and comes to know the world as it truly is. Aristotle, in his work on logic and metaphysics, defined truth in terms of correspondence theory. A statement is true if it corresponds to reality. This is a more straightforward, propositional approach to truth compared to the more dynamic, unveiling nature of aletheia. Although Aristotle did not emphasize the concept of aletheia as much as Plato or Heraclitus, his work set the foundation for later conceptions of truth, especially in terms of logical precision and clarity. Aletheia in Heidegger's philosophy. The most significant philosophical reworking of the concept of aletheia in modern philosophy comes from Martin Heidegger. Heidegger, in his groundbreaking work Being and Time, 1927, reinterprets aletheia as the essence of truth in a way that departs radically from traditional understandings of truth as correctness or correspondence. Aletheia as unconcealment. Heidegger takes inspiration from the pre-Socratic philosophers and particularly Heraclitus' idea that truth is linked to unconcealment. For Heidegger, truth, aletheia, is not simply the accuracy of a statement or the correspondence between language and reality, but rather a dynamic process of revealing. He argues that truth is an event or happening, a process of disclosure in which things come into view or become manifest. For Heidegger, human existence, which he calls being in the world, is intimately connected to this process of unconcealment. As human beings, we are always in a state of encountering and revealing the world around us. Truth and being. Heidegger connects aletheia to the fundamental concept of being, the nature of existence itself. According to Heidegger, in order to truly understand truth, we must first understand being, the ground of all things. For Heidegger, being is not just a concept or an abstract idea, it is the underlying presence of everything in the world. Aletheia, as unconcealment, happens when being becomes manifest or revealed in a particular way. This process of revealing is not something controlled by human cognition or language alone, but is rather an interaction between humans and the world. In this sense, truth is not a static possession or a fact to be captured, rather, it is an unfolding event that brings things into clarity. Forgetfulness of being and the dominance of technology. Heidegger also discusses how modern technology and instrumental thinking obscure the truth of being. He argues that in the modern world, we have become more concerned with manipulating and using things for specific purposes, which has led to a forgetfulness of being. In the age of technology, we no longer encounter the world as a place of revelation and mystery. Instead, we see it merely as a set of resources to be used. Heidegger's critique of modernity is that it has distanced us from the deeper, more authentic experience of aletheia. Instead of perceiving the world in its true, unconcealed form, we have turned it into an object of calculation and control. Aletheia and language. Heidegger also ties aletheia to language. For him, language is not simply a tool for communication, but is the medium through which truth is disclosed. He famously said, "Language is the house of being," suggesting that language is the space in which the truth of existence is revealed. In this view, Aletheia is not something that can be captured in rigid propositions or scientific formulas. Instead, it is revealed through poetic language, art, and other forms of human expression that allow for a more authentic encounter with the world. Aletheia is a process of revelation. In both ancient and modern contexts, aletheia refers to the revealing or uncovering of something that was hidden. However, the way in which it is revealed differs significantly. For the pre-Socratics, particularly Heraclitus, aletheia was connected to the idea that truth is hidden by nature and must be uncovered through philosophical contemplation and engagement with the world. For Plato, aletheia was the ascent from the shadows of ignorance to the light of true knowledge, the realization of the eternal forms. For Heidegger, aletheia is not a static fact but a process, a happening or event in which beings are unconcealed and come into their full presence. It is a dynamic and relational concept that depends on the interaction between human beings and the world. Conclusion: in philosophical terms, aletheia is much more than just truth, as we typically think of it in everyday life. It represents the process of revealing or uncovering, the unconcealment of reality. From the pre-Socratic thinkers like Heraclitus to Plato's metaphysical idealism and Heidegger's existential rethinking, aletheia has evolved into a concept that challenges traditional views of truth as mere factual accuracy. It suggests that truth is an ongoing, unfolding process, deeply tied to the nature of being and human existence itself. This makes aletheia a powerful concept for understanding not just knowledge but the way we relate to and experience the world.